that the lead agency for the registration and other issues relating to the vaccine will be the Food and Drugs Authority. However, we are a government. So what is happening? The starting point is to choose a vaccine. And Ghana, we have a technical advisory group comprised of FDA, a lot of experts.
Yeah.
And then the immunization program. Because it's good to have a vaccine, but that is the beginning of the solution or the issues, because one, it must be the right vaccine. It must be brought in, kept, we call it a cold chain, kept at the temperature it should be kept. And when it gets in country, it must be distributed around the country. Now, that is a logistic challenge that you cannot take for granted, because you have to reach every single district. I think it's more complicated than organizing an election. Well, I will not go into elections over here. So one has to realize the logistics side. We do know for a fact, as His Excellency said, that Ghana is going to choose the most effective vaccine. Almost certainly it will not just be one. It might be more than one for several reasons. One, the shortage. And even the big guys who pre-financed the development of the vaccines are scrambling among themselves.
Right.
Yeah, the US spent $9 billion under the Operation Warp to speed up production. And in so doing, gave billions to companies to secure doses. 200 million from Astra, 100 million, because he who pays the piper, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, they were clear that US taxpayer was used to develop the product. US taxpayers' money was used to develop the product, so they get a right of first acceptance. The European Union signed an agreement with AstraZeneca of the UK. I think when the UK had challenges, they said we cannot supply. And it's now led to vaccine war between the EU and the UK. So you realize that in terms of the queue, we are there, Mom, but shall we say we are not at the front of the queue. So understandably, we would have to look at multiple vaccines. Another key point to note is that for most of the currently available vaccines, it will be a 2-dose regime. 1 dose and then 2 to 14 weeks later, the second dose.
14 weeks?
Some say 12 weeks, some 10 weeks, based on the vaccine. Some are 4 weeks or 2 weeks. But what we shouldn't forget is that you cannot take the Moderna vaccine and go for the second dose with the Pfizer vaccine.
It has to be the same product.
Which means that prior to even starting, if you have 2 doses, it's going to take one person. It's for one person only. So these logistics must all be worked out, considering what people's jobs and schedules are, to ensure that, one, they get the 2 doses of the same vaccine, because it's very easy to complicate it. I mean, we live in a country where still every toothpaste still continues to be Pepsodent, and every newspaper still is graphic. But I think education is helping. So first and foremost is for the vaccine to come. Is for us as a country, as His Excellency said, to assure ourselves that whatever vaccine we are using is safe and safe in our population. It's so critical. The logistics of moving that vaccine is something that we should be able to assure ourselves of. And then, of course, comes the engagement like we are doing. Because vaccination will always have some amount of risk. But there's huge benefits. How do you communicate this uncertainty to a public in the way that they will trust? And for us, we always say that vaccination is about trust. Trust with the people. And so it's community engagement. And when we consider our previous experiences, typically Ebola, we all hold our hands out and say, maybe, just maybe, our communication could have been way better, and that would have avoided a lot of the things. Because in the pandemic, the public understandably is anxious and fearful. In fact, everybody is. Now, we healthcare workers and technical agencies and government have to give stability and confidence. However, there are so many unknowns that we need to make the public aware that, seriously, currently, for all the vaccines, we know that we have no data on their safety in pregnancy. But that does not mean that the vaccine is unsafe in pregnant women. It's just that we do not know. How do you engage the public for them to understand that when it comes to a pregnant woman, you take it on a case-by-case basis. So really, we have spent quite a lot of time over the past few years thinking about how do you communicate uncertainty. Because you see, the public sees the doctor as God, and unfortunately, he's not God. Most of the vaccines are not, in fact, all of them, none is 100%. Now, like it or not, we would have to take some which are 90% and some which are 80%, because that is what is available. How many of them have been tried and tested in black populations? It's a consideration we need to look at. Now, when we bring it to to Ghana, what is the rollout going to be? Who gets what and why? So these are discussions that I'm very happy have started now. And someone has hinted that maybe our community engagement should be ramped up.
Yeah.
Where probably we have daily discussions with the Ghanaian people on the fact that a vaccine is coming. It can do A, it can do B, but it's not a magic bullet that cures all things COVID. If you take the vaccine and you are yet to have your booster dose or your second dose, you can still be infectious and you can still pass on the virus. The further you take the vaccine doesn't mean that when you are traveling, they may not request an antigen or a PCR test. All those things come up and it confuses the public. I'm supposed to be protected. I've taken one dose. Maybe I should be 50% protected. Why should I finish the second dose? And then some feel, I took the second dose, I should be protected immediately. The answer is no. And please note, we keep using this word herd immunity. And I really want to explain that quickly so that we bring the population on board. When the amount of virus or the number of virus circulating goes down, obviously the virus disappears. When we give a vaccine to an individual, we are hoping that their body will produce the war machine, the antibodies, to fight the virus. The immune system, they have memory, so they will remember and they can fight it. For most of the available vaccines, there will be 2 doses. So you are protected. Once you get protected, your risk of, you fight the virus, so it dies in layman's language. Once you get enough people, the figures vary. Some say 60%, some say 85%, some say 90%. But once enough of us are protected, the virus starts dying because it's not able to do any damage and hopefully it disappears. It's a very effective process, but there are those in society who believe that, okay, if there can be herd immunity, let's go Joyansi and Alex Dodu get the head and I'll be protected. That is not good.
Yeah, you need a critical mass.
We need all of us on board because there would always be outliers, pregnant women, children, those with diseases that you don't want to immunize. So they are the outliers, but the majority of us should go out there and be immunized. What are the issues that we need to consider? For most of us, community trust is number one. Public engagement and community acceptance. And we are always saying that we should never underestimate resistance from communities, as in the Ghanaian people, in this. And so we are not underestimating. We are ready.
Can we talk about some of the reasons why there is likely to be resistance? Apart from, lack of information, there are those who have contrary information. So, for instance, there are some who believe that, this entire thing is a ruse, it's a scheme. The virus was created by some people so that a vaccine would be necessary. Then this vaccine will be used to either control population numbers or to monitor and track people. So this information is out there. Prof. Dodu, are these things not possible though? Is it not possible for somebody to use a vaccine as a means of controlling population, maybe causing infertility in a certain number of people, in a certain group of people? Are these things impossible?
Okay, so Kojo, let me take this in a bigger way so that we see the picture. In the past, before national regulatory agencies were set up, there have been terrible things done to humankind by trying medicines, vaccines on them. You have the example where blacks were kept in jails and given vaccines, fine. The World Medical Association had the Helsinki Declaration, and now we make sure that basically all countries rolling out vaccines have a system. when the World Health Organization established the Global Vaccine Safety Advisory Committee, I was chairing it. And at that time, we declared the 2000s, 2010 to 2030, as the decade of vaccine. The interest being that we said every vaccine used everywhere should be safe. Now, why are there conspiracy theories? Once again, it starts from history is something that people don't forget, and they shouldn't. That terrible things have been done to mankind in the name of medicine or healthcare or science. Fortunately, that is history. In fact, since 1992, sounds recent, but when we had the International Commission on Harmonization, even your trial should be published publicly. So we have built trust. One thing we learned about public trust during the Ebola crisis are these. Medicines, routine medicines, are taken by people on their own, voluntarily, because they feel ill. Vaccines are given to prevent disease. So what happens? Vaccines tend to be, quote unquote, given to you. You are well, you take a vaccine. If you get a fever, you say, hey, I was well. Oh. So that is a big difference between the two, because conventional medicines relieve you of illness or disease. Occasionally they prevent, like anti-malarials. Vaccines are supposed to be protecting you against disease, and you take it only when you are healthy. In fact, you will normally not give a vaccine to someone with any illness because we don't think it's wise. That means that when you take the vaccine and you get any slight side effect, you feel like, wait a minute, I was well, I took a vaccine, I'm not well. Did I go or did I come? But we always say that every vaccine you take should be expected to elicit a biological response. You may get a headache, a fever, a muscle pain, a sore throat. Rarely you may get some other issues. But vaccines represent, and I say it slowly, vaccines represent the most cost-effective interventions available to mankind in the fight against disease. Thanks to vaccine, we don't have smallpox again. Eradicated, killed. Thanks to vaccination, polio is all but moved out of Ghana. Thanks to vaccination, things like measles that used to be with us every day, whooping cough, they are all gone. Now, when the diseases which vaccines protect against go away, population don't want to see the vaccine again because they don't see the disease and we are giving them the side effects. But throughout our consideration, we look at the benefits and the risk. Where we have been terribly poor is communicating that there are risks and engaging the public on what level of risk is acceptable. Because, like it or not, it's their body and they have a right to even refuse. So how do you engage the public that let's come together to protect ourselves by accepting this? And increasingly, we've been talking about how do you communicate uncertainty to a public that wants to see you as the champion.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it started. But I am 100% convinced that whatever will be rolled out in the Republic of Ghana would have huge benefits and the risk will be low. And the question is, would I be willing to subject myself to receiving it? The answer is a big yes. Would I give it to my family? The answer is a big yes. For all of us health workers, or all of us who work in this field, protection of the public is a sacred duty. I think a lot of people will say that some of us have had damage, we've spoken. But it's about time we build that capacity. If you remember in the Ebola days, I stated categorically that the skills for developing vaccines against Ebola are the same skills for pandemic influenza. This was in 2015. 6 years down, we've lost some time, but better late than never. What we have learned, of course, is that as scientists, we were speaking in tongues to a fearful population. And like it or not, we sometimes also get it wrong by getting involved in aspects we should have left to the policymakers and the legislators.
So what should our communication be to those who have these theories? Specifically the ones about how something sinister will be smuggled into our systems through these vaccines. So that particular suspicion, how do we communicate to those who have that suspicion?
So looking at COVID vaccines, for starters, several Africans refused even to take part in the trials.
Yeah.
And now, of course, we want the vaccine, which is fine. It is good to sit with them publicly to discuss these conspiracies and these theories. I believe the worst thing you can do in an age of social media is to rubbish their claims. For instance, people will tell you that, oh, this vaccine contains mercury. Mercury can make you have developmental problems and learning difficulties. Some vaccines may contain preservatives, of which a product called thimerosal, which has some mercury attached, will be there. The level is less than you have in a can of sardine. You get me? But they have taken a bit of science and they have added a lot of things. I believe, and the international scientific community believes strongly, that the only way to overcome this is to engage with it transparently, because they have a right to be concerned. Because there's something I say which shocks people, but vaccines change your body forever. Vaccines, unlike paracetamol and co, changes bodies forever, because it changes your immune system and the way your body sees disease, and that is for your protection. Now, people can use that same phrase in a negative way. You are taking something to let your body remember that I have seen COVID before. This is how I killed it. Anytime I see it, I'll kill it. Your body is changed forever, or else you every week would have to go for a jab to make you see the disease. All of us had the smallpox, well, those of a certain age. We had the measles. And in Ghana, in the Republic of Ghana, let's look at some of the benefits of vaccination. We no longer have smallpox. We were having a lot of cases of Haemophilus influenza, and we introduced that vaccine when we did the 5-in-1, and that is all but gone. As we sit here, nobody has got pertussis, whooping cough. It's all but disappeared. If you take the population born around 2003 till now, they don't have hepatitis B, because that was introduced into routine immunization. So we have protection, and that protection is for life. Their bodies have been changed for life, but for a good reason. However, one, the theories will remain, and yes, we also need to open our eyes, because we should not trust the goodness of the individuals. We should trust, one, the transparency of the system, and the fact that we can interrogate it to the limit, because we are talking about biological agents which can be used to cause damage. I mean, let's face it. We trust in our country and our people. Other countries do the same. My immediate response to most people in this pandemic is, look, the US is using this, the UK is using it, they developed it, they are using it. To that extent, they will not want to wipe off their population. So you can have that trust. Now, the UK is buying vaccines made in Germany and Belgium to the UK and vice versa. The same for the US. So with COVID-19, you can have that confidence. But it's good to keep asking these questions. You remember H1N1, where we said we were going to have the swine flu, and it was vaccination, and the vaccines were taken away. When everything was done, there was a question on whether the global response was appropriate. Because some countries like Portugal refused to take those vaccines at the time, and more or less they were proven correct in not accepting it. So we should also accept that there are lessons to be learned in these processes. And the more transparent we are, the more open we are, the more forthright we are with the engagement, I think the better we can bring the population along.
So your rule be, just before, Winston has a question for you, but just very briefly, what will your organization's role be in ensuring this quality? When these, whatever vaccine we decide on, will you do trials of your own? Will you do tests? What will you do to ensure that it's safe for us?
I mean, the FDA, and I know that confidentially, has a detailed system that they have shown to government. As an individual, obviously, working in collaboration with them and in vaccine safety, I wear too many hats, both public and private. But we have all accepted to take the leadership of the Food and Drugs Authority. What I know for a fact will happen is that before any vaccine is brought into Ghana, the assessment of the data on it, and in fact, it's not as if the FDA has a choice. It's got a sacred duty to ensure that under its watch, under Mimi's watch, the vaccines used in Ghana in this pandemic achieve the benefits expected. She has support. Not only myself, there are quite a lot of Ghanaian experts. And even though we serve the global community as well, our primary responsibility is our country. And we are making sure. We do expect that when you roll out, there'll be questions, there'll be challenges. And Please, the population has a right to challenge. I mean, I think we should get worried when Ghanaians don't ask questions. When they ask questions, it means they are interested. They want to be engaged and they want to be informed so that they can take the right decisions. We cannot make vaccination mandatory, but we need everybody to be vaccinated.
Well, talking about needing everybody on board, Prof, you talked about the need, to also have trials, and you've asked the question, the vaccines that we have, how would they fare in as the black population? The trials that we may have to have, and based on what you're telling us, that becomes a necessity, right?
Not really. I mean, if you look at the data, for instance, one or two of the vaccines were tested in South Africa as well as Brazil. If the black population is such that they are representative enough of us, and if there is no scientific reason to think that genetics will have a part to play in that vaccine, then there's no point in trying it in Ghanaians pre-use. However, once you roll it out in Ghana, you are duty bound to follow every single patient at least for the first 100 days.
So talking about the data, what that means, there could also be the possibility that certain vaccines may need trial in Ghana. What I'm interested in is the trial period, how long it would last if we have to try it in Ghana.
So the first question I always ask is, if we want to do a trial, what do we want to find out? There is where people will say, oh, we want to have the experience of use. With that, in the pandemic, what you do normally is to give emergency use authorization, and as the product is being rolled out, you follow the product to get more experience. And it's been done already for one particular case. It's a TB drug where it was rolled out very early because it's needed and data accumulated. If Ghana wants to do a long-term clinical trial, it will not be efficient or useful. Indeed, for COVID vaccines, the whole process has been abbreviated. And let's face it, but for the fact that it was for COVID and the damage, no vaccine has been developed in 12 months. Never. So like it or not, the global community have moved at the speed of a rocket. In that speed, admittedly, things have been done now which would not have been done but for COVID. So it makes everybody say, wait a minute, we've gone very fast. Oh, and when you move fast, you know what happens. You know, when you move fast, all sorts of things can happen. So globally, we all know this is the first time ever that end-to-end, less than a year. But it's been driven by the cases of people dying, by the hospitalization. So at this stage, we are saying that the vaccines are expected to have benefits that humanity needs now.
So in effect, I mean, unlike previous situations, under the current circumstances, we can bring it in, monitor the people, and we are good to go.
We are good to go till, so you do a continuous evaluation. Because if 12 months down the line, COVID cases have all but disappeared globally, and it's an influenza, they do disappear. The argument will now go, why take a vaccine? Why take a vaccine? So as we start to deal with the pandemic, as cases start going low, the willingness to go for vaccination and the need for it will be questioned again by everybody, the scientific community, as well as the general public.
Finally, you've talked about the efficiency or the efficacy of them. Some 90%, some 80%. What do they mean? So if some has 90%, what does it mean for those of us who are taking the doses? If it's 80%, what does it mean?
Well, I'm going to say something that, okay, let me explain what it means. In the trials, the data we have so far, and I'm being very careful based on currently available information, this is what was done. Just so that the public is with us. So let's say you take 100 people who had received the vaccine, and you compare them to another 100 who did not receive the vaccine. Of those who received the vaccine, let's say 20 never got the disease. Of those who didn't receive the vaccine, quite a higher number got the disease. So looking at it, you see that in those who received the vaccine, only 20 got ill. So 80% were protected. Those who didn't get it, maybe 90 or whatever. I mean, we'll do a bit of calculation to give you the fine figures. That was for one vaccine. If you take the Oxford vaccine, for instance, they are saying that, the figure can even be as high as 90, though now it's 60. Because as the data increases, the figures change. Some are saying that, oh, if you give a lower dose first and give a higher dose later, it will work. If this were not a pandemic, these are questions the scientific community would have addressed prior to releasing the vaccine. But now it's like your children are hungry and you are trying to cook the food and dress the plates.
Okay,
They will jump into the kitchen.
So let me bring it to our understanding. Is there the possibility that even after taking the vaccine, I could still contract the virus?
All right. So there are two answers to that. When you take your first dose, for those which require 2 doses, you must assume that you are not fully protected
Okay.
till you have taken your second dose. Taking your second dose makes it very unlikely to contract the disease, but you can contract the disease. None of the available vaccines is 100%.
Okay.
Our belief is that if enough of us take it, and we have less likelihood of getting it, the virus disappears. And then we have the herd immunity and the protection. And I'm glad for your question because, you know, even though it's not a black and white answer, the public needs to understand that we are affording enough people protection that the virus has nowhere to grow. Because don't forget, the viruses don't grow on surfaces. They grow in human beings, and they need us to replicate. They need us to grow. So if they cannot grow in me and grow in you, they have nowhere to go, and they have a short life cycle. But if most of us are still not protected, then they will grow from me, I spread it to you, and so on and so forth. That is why we need enough people protected. But there's no absolute protection. There can be none.
So again, I mean, in the bit to clarify, so even if you have a vaccine that has recorded 95% effectiveness, that means that there are still some 5% of people who might get the vaccine, but could still get
Absolutely.
COVID. Okay, so that's what it means. These percentages. That's what they are
That's what
referring
it
to.
means.
Are there some people for whom the vaccine won't just fail to protect them, but might actually be harmful because of, say, allergies?
If you are immune compromised, you can have a problem. In fact, using the data available currently publicly at the UK, they have said that those with allergies and hypersensitive reactions should not go for it. And these are the people too you want to protect. Because those with asthma tend to have allergies.
Yeah.
So normally it's a balance. They are not taking those with asthma out, but they are saying that let's look at the aged, 80, 90, 70, 60. Then if you are asthmatic but you are 14, really, you don't want to worry about them. So it's more looking at those on whom there is a warning. And one of them was pregnancy. The other were those taking anti-cancer drugs and other drugs so that they are protected. We do accept that there will be side effects. In fact, there's no medical intervention without safety concerns. Currently, we believe that the benefits will be huge and the risk will be low. Akojo, there's another dimension, which, much as it burdens me, must be brought up in the spirit of openness. Currently, we don't know how long the protection afforded by the vaccine lasts. Is it 9 months? Is it 12 months? Obviously, it's too early to tell. So, one, you have a vaccine of which we currently believe that the protection will not be lifelong. It will wane, it will degrade. Now, you are immunizing the whole population. By the time you are done, some would have taken it earlier than later. Would they have the same protection or not? They will not. But if we are efficient in our immunization, by the time you are done, hopefully, we would have gotten rid of the virus. In fact, that is the magic bullet. Because we don't want to be subjecting our population to COVID vaccination every year. I mean, that is going to raise so many other questions. In the Western Hemisphere, there is a flu immunization every winter season. But even then, as you are very much aware, it's for certain age groups and certain categories of persons. That may happen with COVID. But you do not want to expect to be doing that COVID vaccination every day because it's expensive. And don't forget, this will be in addition to the routine immunization. So anytime people rush, we tell them that, look, the immune system is also not a bank with a bottomless pit. You can stress the system by giving it too many things to remember. So there are all these balances. And in Europe and America already, people are taking 12 or 13 different vaccines. from 5-in-1, this, that, and it's the body is not made to, to have an unlimited number. For us, Ghana, we are good. Currently, we are good. The evidence upon which we are moving and the processes we are using are transparent. They involve anybody with the scientific and social science knowledge, because we are dealing with a lot of rollout which will involve multiple people. I believe that our key focus should be on those who have little literacy and health literacy, because health literacy is very weak. When we go to them, as we've seen in the past, they want simple language. And that is where we would have to rely heavily on our communicators to help us to send this message. I will give just one example. Around the 2006, 7, and 8, as a country, we decided to give children, a medicine to stop malaria. We call it prevention of malaria by treating the malaria, IPTI. We told the mothers to mix the tablets with small water, and this was to be done in the first 3 months of life. Now, we have, as a health system, have advised mothers that for the first 6 months of life, exclusive breastfeeding. This small bit blew our mind, because they said, you are confusing us. You said exclusive breastfeeding, now you say small water to mix the tablet. Now which is which? So what we agreed with them is that then mix it with the breast milk. So it might sound very small to us who, quote unquote, speak English and big English, but the reality is that in healthcare, the population whose taxes drive you have a lot of legitimate questions. To you, the health worker or the expert, they might sound very basic, but they are not. And how do you explain these complex issues, T cells, memory cells, antibodies, to my mother in the village? And that's where we need to engage with the media so that you can help us do that better.
Prof, we have new strains now, new variants that we've identified. Some will be identified as we go along because the virus mutates. The vaccines that have been developed so far, do they work on the new variants that have been discovered?
I'm going to take this in quite a slightly different way, with your permission. And sorry, I was laughing because today when I was coming, my team is Olympic. Somebody said only mutation. But anyway, we are doing well. So there are two things that as a country and as a people we have to descend with. We have to contend with. News on demand, or the demand for news immediately, due to social media and other things, have meant that instead of aggregating information, making meaning of it before giving it to the public, we are giving it on the go. Viruses mutate all the time. Previously, we would have consolidated this data, made meaning of it, and come out. So yes, expect several mutations. The UK government said, we are seeing mutations, but we don't even know what they mean. The vaccines may work, may not work. Yesterday, King's College London published something saying that one of the strains can spread more but it's less harmful. So what is happening is that there is too much information overload to the public. Mutations happen every day. Most of them do not mean much. And I think what we have to figure out, because that's a challenge, how do we keep the population engaged even when we don't know what the data means? Because eventually, COVID will mutate itself out. Or eventually, it will mutate and disappear. When, I don't know, and nobody knows. So, yes, there'll be mutations. The expectations will be that all the vaccines will not be effective against all the strains all the time. Now, there will be no predictive tools to know who does what. These trials have been accelerated. These vaccines are new. On the available evidence and considering the rise of the disease, they are useful to use and they will offer protection and benefits. They will also come with some risks. But we must accept that 12 months hence, these same vaccines will be completely not as effective as they were at the height of the pandemic. These are the realities. And I think the more we engage on them, the more people realize that it is what it is.
Let's talk about decision making, because your organization, the FDA. Oh, and by the way, we're still trying to reach Delis Darko of the FDA. We're still working on it. We're hoping we'll get her to join us. But from where you sit, obviously you are part of committees, groups that are helping shape the processes through which these vaccines will be received and administered. Now, I'm asking this question because the last time we we engaged on vaccines, it was because Parliament had taken an interest. Now, what are the decision-making processes here? Is it simply a matter of the president has given a directive, we're going to have vaccines, we're going to have a certain number by the end of June, and then your institutions kick in and start doing the practical side of things, doing the testing and the approvals and all of that, and then they come in and then the distribution is supervised? Or are we going to have some political decision making? Will Parliament have to look in on this one? And
So let me start. I mean, I'm a very small fish in the scheme of things. This whole process has been driven and is being led by His Excellency the President. Fact, I think everybody knows that. The President has a team of advisors. Dr. Nsia Sari of the World Health Organization is part. Sorry, Dr. Samwaban and Dr. Nsia Sari and others. Now, the President has made it clear that his technical agencies, and here, the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, and importantly, the Food and Drugs Authority are doing what they have to do because that's their legally mandated job. And Kojo, it's difficult to know how to position it, but if you were to contrast with Ebola, you will notice that in this case, the President has been clear in his statement. We will only use products that the Food and Drugs Authority, our legal body, considered as such, have evaluated and have approved. The same as the UK or the US government have all done. So in that case, you can see that the systems are working and the processes are moving. Parliament, as our lawmakers and the representatives of the people, have a right to ask any question anytime and a right to receive answers. So one would expect that at some stage, Parliament may summon the acting Minister of Health to go and answer questions on our preparedness and everything. A lot of people are working to support Ghana's process. All of us know that silence is best purely because in this pandemic, central control and leadership should lead it. But what I can see, and I know every Ghanaian out there would agree, this has not been partisan, and it's not partisan. I mean, this hasn't been playing Chaskele with Ghanaian, this NPP and DC. No.
Right.
The leadership has been with the presidency, and everyone will tell you that those who attend the meetings, I'm not one of them, that the big man himself leads it, chairs it, and drives answers from everybody. Now, what do we have to do? Because in addition to being technical agencies heads, several of us are also scientists. I mean, there are too many of us. We are duty bound to guide our country using the right processes. What I'm hoping we do not do is to question in the wrong fora. But because trust must be built, nobody has been gagged. Nobody has been told, don't talk, don't. So I'm glad about all these things. But once the announcement is made as to which vaccines Ghana is going for, trust me, you would ask and say, why this and not that?
Yeah.
And I think they are legitimate questions which should be answered openly rather than saying, why do you ask me that?
Right. That's important. We're talking to Professor Alex Dodu, and I'm not exaggerating when I say you are one of the world's leading experts on vaccine development.
Vaccine safety, yes.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, he is the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority. When we come back, we'll learn a bit more about vaccines. I want to ask him about a picture that's going around of some vaccines that are recommended for European use and others for African use. And then we'll have a conversation about disposal of our waste. Which I think I'm not exaggerating when I say now all waste is clinical waste, thanks to COVID-19. That and more when we return.
Massa, make what make you go. You need to go to the bank first before we go and pay for the things. Time no day like that too.
Relax. Everything dey in my hand inside.
Massa, you need to get the cash.
Forget the cash. See, transfer, payment, I dey use the Cowbank app. No stress.
That's slow for me. I still forgo my bank. I don't have account for
I
Cowbank.
say forget the cash. Even without an account at Cowbank, you can download the app, sign up, and connect your mobile money wallet or debit card, and you can
Promotion! The Millennium Insurance freebie season is here again. Renew your existing motor insurance or buy insurance from Millennium and get various cool items. Rush now! Offer remains while stocks last. Terms and conditions apply. Millennium Insurance, your trustworthy partner.
Good citizens of Ghana, as cases of COVID-19 begin to rise, the NCCE reiterates the need for citizens to continue to adhere to all existing safety protocols. Wash your hands with soap and running water regularly. Avoid crowded places and observe physical distancing. Wear the FDA-approved disposable or homemade face mask correctly. Sanitize your hands with alcohol-based sanitizer regularly. Note that you can contract COVID-19 from anybody, anywhere. Continue to eat immune-boosting foods. Call 112 if you experience symptoms of COVID-19, such as coughing, sore throat, runny nose, fever, or difficulty in breathing, headache, loss of sense of taste and smell. Rely on the Ghana Health Service and the Ministry of Health for COVID-19 information. COVID-19 is real and still with us. Don't be complacent. The fight against the pandemic continues. Protect yourself and others. A message from the National Commission for Civic Education with support from the COVID-19 National Trust Fund.
You be Go TV Lite, Value or Plus subscriber? Time a draw, so be unlock it to me with TV no more. Upgrade the Go TV Max and Nenyano at a discounted price, 60 Ghana CDC pay. You will enjoy over 50 local and international channels for less. No darling cry. Local series, telenovelas, blockbusters, sports, any kids channels pop baby. Make you stay connected via my Go TV app and any pay-by agent near you. Now enjoy maximum entertainment with Go TV Max for less. Offer day from 14th January to 31st March 2021. T's and C's apply. Go TV. Love it.
Hey, bro, Kofi, your ceiling be smooth, bright and fine, papa.
That's an understatement. It dey blink like 80 carats white gold. This be Interface plasterboard ceilings. Smooth, bright, and long-lasting. Everybody where they come here, they fill up. Where they direct them go Interface Limited for world-class quality.
If you're involved in new property development, renovation, or decoration, the right place for you is Interface Limited. Call us on 0274 999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook, Interface Limited GH. Instagram, interface.limited.
Same great bang. Because the greatest things are born from the smallest of thoughts. Just as your seeds in a rich soil grow to become trees that bear fruits, the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, helps you sow, invest, nurture, and grow your personal and business plans by serving you with years of banking ingenuity and experience in agribusiness, corporate and commercial banking, consumer finance, e-banking, and many more through our networked branches across the country. Whatever the culture, whatever the dream, we grow with you. Call us today on 0302-210-210 or visit www.agricbank.com. ADB, truly agric and more.
This Wednesday is Mega Wednesday at ShopRite. That means we have mega fresh produce at mega low prices. Like rock buns, 100 gram pack for only 1 Ghana cedi, 49 pesos. And cucumber local for just 5 Ghana cedi, 99 pesos per kilogram. Get these and more mega savings at Mega Wednesday. Prices valid on Wednesday, 3rd February only. To help ensure the safety of all our shoppers and staff, please practice social distancing when visiting our stores. Only at ShopRite. Lower prices you can trust always.
Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
I love my life.
mask. We beg you. If you don't care about protecting others, at least protect yourself. Okay, wear your mask. Don't take it off unless you're swapping it for another mask. All right, so the Super Morning Show continues. Our guest in the studio, Professor Alex Dodu. We were working on getting the head of the FDA to join us, Delise Darko. We're still working on it. I think perhaps we just have a bit of difficulty in reaching her, but we're going to keep working until we get her. It would be wonderful to hear from her as well. But we're getting education on vaccines. We're also going to talk about waste disposal, and Prof. Dodu, we'll borrow your brain for that as well in a moment, because it's an important topic. It affects us all, and there's a lot to learn. But look, are you tweeting at us? Are you using the hashtag JoySMS? Are you telling us how you dispose of your masks? How do you dispose of your masks? Social media messages on the Super Morning Show are brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. And the hashtag is JoySMS. Put that at the beginning of your tweet, and we will see it and share it with the world. Now, with EcoBank Pay, GHQR, there are no payment restrictions. And this is great as we're all collaborating towards a common goal. And look, customers who are staying home, maintaining social distancing and staying safe, don't have to worry about being exposed when you're making payments with your card, because the EcoBank Pay GHQR will let you do so from anywhere, in-store or online, from any bank account, any bank card, or any mobile money wallet, using your phone safely and conveniently. So make the move today and reach more customers with the new EcoBank Pay GHQR. If you want to know more, call EcoBank on 0302 213 999, or you can try the 24/7 toll-free number, which is 3225. EcoBank cares, so remember to put in place measures to ensure the safety of your staff and your customers. The hashtag is Stay Safe for Business. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. And of course, I've got to remind you that DSTV is allowing you to step up this year. They'll give you more of the entertainment you and your family like, so fasten your seatbelts as DSTV takes you higher with more epic live soccer, exciting local drama, and the best kids shows. Listen, all you have to do is, from now until the 31st of March, upgrade your current DSTV package to the next one, and DSTV will bump you up to the one above it at no extra cost, all right? It's that simple. So let's say you have access. All you do is you pay for family, and DSTV will give you compact at no extra cost. Follow them with the hashtag DSTV Step Up for more, or call them on 0302 740 540. Now, carrying cash is so last season. The best thing to do now is to pay with your contactless ABSA vertical card. It's brilliant. Okay, it's contactless, so you just pay with a tap on the point of sale machine, and it's even safer this COVID-19 period. So you get to enjoy up to 40% discounts when you pay with the card at an ABSA partner. Get the card assist from ABSA and get things done. That is Africanacity. That is ABSA. ABSA is the official banking partner of the Premier League. Go to absa.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. And please follow all COVID-19 protocols this festive season. Let me add one more important message. And this one is from MTN. Now, you know they want you to experience the safest and most secure way of enjoying MTN Momo. And that is why from the 2nd of April 2021, you will be required to present a valid national ID card anytime you visit a Momo agent to perform a transaction. Now, please note, this is to help you keep receiving cash and just handling your transactions in a safe and secure way. That is why we are good together. Just Momo it everywhere you go. So, Prof Dodu, I asked before the break whether you had seen that picture going around of some vaccine that is recommended for the West, and another one for Africa, and what do you make of it?
I saw the one on this product called Remdesivir.
Remdesivir, yes.
And people were complaining, and there's a simple explanation for it. When products are produced, the pharmaceutical industry prices them differently,
right,
based on where they are supposed to be sold. So there is always the risk of diversion. So this product is produced, it's the same quality, everything is the same, but based on arrangement with the government of Ghana, it may be for Ministry of Health use only. Now, it's entirely possible to divert that to the UK. or to other markets.
Right.
So those writings have nothing to do with different quality or different strains, but more to do with trade-related issues. And indeed, you can see some products made in the UK for export only, or made in Ghana for export only, and vice versa. It's a very, very, very normal way of business. Indeed, if you check even Ghana, if you are going to export a product to Ghana, let's say the best product, if the Ghana FDA gives you the license to bring it from one country, you cannot change the country you are bringing it in unless you have informed them again. So these are normal, but it's to stop what we call parallel importing, where people buy things from different places and divert them. And as we speak, at the Standards Authority, I'm dealing with some lubricants which were coming in, and the big firms want it to come only from the countries they choose.
Right.
Because sometimes people, instead of importing, let's say from France, may import from Dubai. And there are differences in the pricing and the strategy. So it's a marketing issue. I mean, Coca-Cola would not want Coca-Cola to be imported into Ghana from other countries. And so on and so forth. So really, these are just legitimate trade issues, and they have nothing to do with the danger or the fact that the ones made from Africa have something put in it. It's not true.
That's an important clarification. Now, if you have questions about the vaccine, you can send them through to us. Use the hashtag JoySMS. We've got Prof. Dodo for a while longer because we've got to talk about waste disposal. So if you send your questions through, we'll put them to him, and we'll get you some answers. I know a lot of you are tweeting hard and following a lot of what Prof. Dodo is saying, getting a lot of education from it, and that's the idea. We want to be having these conversations regularly so that we all become more knowledgeable about it. And if you've learned something today, the next time you're by the water cooler and somebody says something that you've just learnt about, you can add to that conversation, and the education continues on and on and on. Prof, I want us to start this conversation about waste disposal by finding out what the public knows, and then we can we can add on to that. So please call us. Let's take a moment to take a few calls. 0302-216-541. I want to know one thing. How do you dispose of your mask? How do you do it? What do you do with it? Where does it end up? How do you dispose of your mask? 0302-216-541. Let's hear from you first. I'll tell you one thing though. There are many people who wear disposable masks a little longer than they should. What is the advice? How long should a disposable mask be worn?
I think the guidance has been that, especially for the cloth mask, they get wet. Really, so you want to have a change of mask if possible. For these disposable ones, I mean, I normally, as you can see, I'm carrying more than one at a time, because once they get wet, you really don't want to use them. Most people say, oh, within 8 hours, but really, after 4 hours, in our current weather, and it's going to get worse as the temperature increases, then we may need to. So I think first guidance, don't wear it when it's wet. In fact, the London Borough of Slough have this thing on social media saying that wear your mask as you wear your undies. Don't wear them when they are wet. Don't wear them outside out. They should cover everything they're supposed to cover, and so on.
Don't share them with anyone.
Don't share them with anyone. The most important one, actually. Do not share your mask with anyone. What I have not heard in the discussions on mask, because for me it's a credit to Ghana, the US government is now saying that do not just wear face coverings, but wear effective masks. And there are discussions on using double mask. But at the beginning of the pandemic, the Standards Authority and the Food and Drugs Authority developed standards. We call it publicly available specifications. It's online. They are the most effective you can have anywhere. Developed in Ghana. So any mask that has been certified by GSA or approved by FDA should and will comply to those ones.
That's wonderful. Prof, I want to take a couple of calls. William is calling us from Gumua, Butumburam. William, good morning.
Good morning, boss. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for calling us.
Okay.
First of all, my mask, when I use it, I throw it away in the bin. Straight up. Secondly,
where do you throw it?
in the bin.
Into
in
the
rubbish
bin. Okay, so
Yeah.
then whichever bin you find, you put your mask in there.
No. We have a rubbish bin. We throw it in when I come home.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. Thank you very much. Let's go to Kumasi
Now-
and talk to Kofi Bedu. Good morning, Kofi. Hello, Kofi.
Good morning, Kojo. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Kofi. Thank
Hello,
you for
Kojo.
calling.
Good. Kojo, what I want to talk about is this vaccine. We have efficacy of every vaccine, and we have some that are from 80 to 90 as in its efficacy percentage. So how have we assured? Because this vaccine, the vaccine is not for cure, but every vaccine is for preventive measures. So how have we tried this vaccine that we are important to know its efficacy and how it works? Two, the temperature is also another factor. Have we factored in the temperature that it ought to be installed, and also its duration of every vaccine is also very important. So have we also know for 1 year? So how does this vaccine, its duration when you take it? What is its duration? These are not oral vaccines. These are injectables, and injectable vaccines has its implications. So if you can, Prof can enlighten all of us on all this for us. Thank you very much.
Very good. I will get you an answer from Prof in a moment. Jonathan is in Pantang. Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning.
So, how do you dispose of your masks, Jonathan?
Okay, I dispose it in the bin.
Okay, just any bin that is nearby, right? That's where you put it.
Yes, any bin that's nearby. Whenever I feel like I'm disposing it.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
Okay, all right, and a little bit contribution on what Mr. Dudu said. He has spoke a lot, but I'm still not convinced on certain things.
Okay, go ahead. What's your question?
I don't have a question per se, but then I read something about UK government. That the UK government saying that the vaccine is not compulsory for the citizens. So now, when the Ghana government bring it here, how are they going to do it? Are they going to impose this thing on us, or we still need more education on this?
Okay, you want to know whether it will be compulsory
on some of the things he points out. So please, there should be more education on this.
Okay, you want to know whether the vaccine will be compulsory for citizens. Yes. Okay, all right. We'll get you an answer to that. Michael joins us. Michael, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Kojo.
Where are you calling from?
I'm in Odumas Kroko.
All right.
Some of the masks, anytime I go out and I say I have to change the mask, I just put it in my bag. And when I come to the house, of course, into a waste bin, then we dispose of it. So that's how I dispose of my used masks.
Okay,
But
you put it in your bag till you get home.
Or observation. Because I fear that the second week, Ghanaians will be reluctant. There will be this fatigue in going back to the old protocols and everything. So I think we should have, all contributed to the eradication of the pandemic. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But my only question, a question of importance to me is, how did the Noguchi incident, how was it resolved? When this incident of somebody who alleged that he had positive and he bought a negative report, how was it resolved? Thank you.
How was the Noguchi investigation resolved into somebody claiming a fake test was given to them? Okay, I don't know if we have the right person to answer that question here. But it is an important question we ought to follow up on. Thank you for that. Dick is in Kojo Krum, second D. Dick, what did I So what's up?
Cool.
Your mask, how do you get rid of it?
I dispose in the bin, especially in the house.
Okay.
I don't like it outside. I do it in the house.
All right.
And with the standard boards, some of us already have trust issues with standard boards. Seriously.
Okay.
Because if you can buy a spoon from the market and then you leave it wet for about 3-4 days and it's rusted, you buy a blender, it doesn't last. Short time, it goes bad. You buy a ceiling fan, it doesn't last. Short time, it goes bad. Who is checking these things? If it's standard board and the same standard board is going to verify these vaccines, some of us are going to still have trust issues with the vaccines as well. Because
it's actually going to be the FDA. Standard Authority will be, playing some role, but it's the FDA that is leading that process, okay? Food and Drug Authority.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ishmael is in Abukubi. Ishmael, good morning.
Good morning, could you?
So, your mask, what happens to it?
Well, what I do is my mask, I dispose them off in a black polythene bag. Then I burn them when I get home.
Okay, so you put them in a black polythene bag while you are out and about,
When
and
I'm
then when
out,
you get home, you
I put
burn
them in a black polythene bag. I tighten it. Then when I get home, I don't even take it inside. I burn them outside before I get to my room.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The
Any
little I
thoughts
like
on
to-
the vaccines?
Could you, are you there? I'd like to add that time should be allocated for the schools to be taught these things, should include it into our curriculum, to be taught these things, how to wear this, what to do, some of these things. You should be echoing that into their ears day in and day out. I think that it can help.
Thank you. Thank you for that suggestion. God bless you. Eric is in Spintex. Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Kojo. How are you?
I'm very well. It's good to hear from you, Eric.
Yeah, well, good, great. So you want to find out how I dispose my first mouse, right?
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Okay, so I have a carrier bag in my car. As soon as I get home, I take it off and put it in the carrier bag. So at least if I get home early, fine. Then I can put it in the dustbin, wrapping it in the carrier bag. But other than that, I keep it in the bags, and anytime I have less chance, I dispose it off in the dustbin and have it burned.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. But could you have another issue, right?
Yeah.
You know about these two Methodist girls?
Yes.
Yeah, the girls has won another coding competition again, and it's like it's been on the under the radar. Nobody's talking about that.
Oh, well, thank you for alerting us to that. That's wonderful. We'll certainly look into that and give them a bit of give them a bit of support and boost. They are making us proud. God bless you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, I think we've taken a few of these. Let's get into the conversation. So, Prof, a couple of questions for you on the vaccines, I think, before we move on. Kofi in Kumasi said, how have we measured the efficacy? But I suppose the problem is we don't know which one we're getting yet. So we can't have measured efficacy for Ghana yet. But the plan is that we will. Am I right?
No, you can assess it. I mean, I think what government is doing is a six-stage process. One, you have to select and choose the one you're going to use. Once you select and choose the one, you send it to the regulator. So by law, that is the Food and Drugs Authority. Once they give approval based on all the evidence, on the experience of the vaccine, we go and buy it. We procure it. And that is where his question becomes important, because once you procure it, side by side, you should be talking to the country. You should be communicating that we've bought it, it's coming, and it's going to be used. And of course, you monitor it. The key points he made, two of which I want to tackle. Yes, the vaccines have different requirements for storage. There are some which require -70 freezers, of which we don't have that many. Some require the normal household freezers, -20, and some can be stored in a fridge. It's important to stress that from the manufacture till it's used in a patient, that cold chain must be maintained so that the vaccine doesn't go bad. So the manufacturer's requirements for storage, usually at very cold temperature, will have to be maintained. And that goes into the planning of what to buy and what not to buy, or what to send to a remote area and what not to send. Then I had a question of whether it's compulsory. And please note, His Excellency has never said that. He said he will make vaccines available for everyone in Ghana. We will encourage everyone in Ghana to go for it. But it's very difficult to see how vaccination with COVID can be made mandatory. It doesn't happen anywhere. The population is calling for it, and most people will come for it. And this program and others are to ensure that we engage one another rather than it being an imposition. So it has not been said it's mandatory, and the encouragement is that we should all protect ourselves.
Right. Okay. There was a suggestion that we allocate time in our schools to educate people on COVID-related issues. Since communication is important in this vaccination drive, is there a plan for that to happen? Should that be a strategy, educating kids in schools?
Educating them on COVID, yes. On vaccination, children in schools will not form one of the key constituencies or populations you want to vaccinate. The evidence is that, for them, COVID is not their problem. It's our problem. Yes, 1 or 2 children may have it. So the issue...
new strains appear to have more effect in children.
More, but the absolute effect is still very little. And they seem not to pass it on. Strangely, we don't know why. We are still learning more. So, yes, they would have to be educated. But looking at the curriculum and other things, I want to believe that children will pick a lot up purely because the discussion is ongoing. We will need definitely to develop a lot of quick to understand material for social media for the whole population, including children. And yes, teachers, the churches, and the mosques should begin to ramp up their communication on these things. You are doing a good job here at Joy, and I'm hoping that other stations are also beginning to look at it. Once the vaccines are procured, we have no choice but to engage all media and talk to the country to let the country know what is going to be done.
Okay. Now, we've heard people's methods of disposing of their masks. Most people put it in the bin. Some people, if they're out and about, they'll put it in their bag, and then when they get home, put it in the bin. Somebody said they put it in a polythene bag
and burn it.
And then when they get home, they burn it. Interesting methods there. But all in all, I think the one thing that becomes clear is that if we are putting at least our masks into our bins, then our bins immediately change status and become clinical waste. Am I right? So as a nation, are we properly disposing of all this clinical waste, or could that also be an avenue for spread?
Okay, I doubt whether there will be avenue for spread purely because the virus wouldn't stay that long on the mask. However, they can be an avenue for all sorts of infections and problems. Now, Kojo, I would look at this question in the bigger dimension because, believe it or not, I'm currently editing the PhD thesis of one of my students. It's in tech. And the topic was on eco-pharmacovigilance, the effect of medical waste on the environment. In the UK, eco-pharmacovigilance made us realize that the fishes in their rivers were being feminized, made females, because people were leaving their steroid tablets in the water system. So the fishes ingested these things and became feminized. Couldn't give birth again. In India, their vulture population was decimated. And it was found out that people were throwing their diclofenac tablets everywhere. And when the vultures eat it, they die. So, wanton disposal of medicines in the environment has consequences directly on marine life and even on human health. With the use of masks, we have a situation. We need to ask ourselves, First question, how well do we incinerate clinical waste? For starters. Somebody mentioned burning. Much as burning is good, if we all start burning, we are going to start polluting the environment, creating breathing problems in the time of a pandemic, which affects breathing. So, I mean, the intention is good, but the output or the outcome of that action can actually, be more damaging. And this is where maybe, not just maybe, this is where practically we should be sending clear communication. What do you do with your mask? Do you put it in a paper bag and drop it at a mask collection center? Because if we leave it in the household waste, then the question is, how will household waste be managed? Would it all be incinerated or would it be left where it is? My guess is if we don't take care, when the rain starts, whenever the gutters become full with rain material, in addition to the sachet water and black bags, you have COVID masks floating merrily on these things.
Goodness.
And it will be an eyesore.
It will. It certainly will. Well, I suppose one thing I'm picking up from this is that it's a business opportunity for those who have expertise in disposal of clinical waste. Perhaps there ought to be some manner of provision of service to the public so that we can all have a safe way of getting rid of all of these things that have now become part of our lives because of COVID-19.
I mean, there is a standard, or rather we do have standards on how these things could be done. And your gentleman from Kojo Krom said he has no trust in the Standards Authority.
Oh yeah, he said some products he has bought have let him down.
Kojo, I can assure him that his concerns have been heard. When we declared the year of enforcement, in the next few days, the announcement is that when you buy things, you should see the Standard Authority's mark, that's engraved on it, or else we won't allow it. But he's right. We've had so many complaints of fufu machines breaking down, blenders, electrical irons, and we are taking action.
Right.
So his criticism is justified. He's right in demanding more of us, and we have to do that more.
Well, we are assured by your intention to do more. Professor Alex Dodu, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. It's always an enlightening conversation. Let's have more of these in the coming days. Prof. Alex Dodu heads the Ghana Standards Authority, and we're hoping that he'll be a bit more regular with us as we go into this new era of vaccines and more. All right, now please go to Kingdom Books and Stationery if you haven't yet picked up the best thermometer guns on the market with precise non-contact measurement, backlight LCD display, and you can set an alarm value on it. You can buy in bulk when you call 050 140 1050 or just go to any of their shops across the country or their head office, which is at Osu Akweje Junction. Thanks for all of your text messages. They were brought to us by Glycocritical Illness Plan, GSIP. It's in your best interest to survive. And I'll tell you who wants you to survive. It's GlycoLife, because your claims are important to them. So the advice is, look, go to the website, glycolife.com, lodge your claims there for prompt service, or you can come to the office if you have to. They are observing all the safety protocols there. But please, pay your premiums on time via your chosen mode of payment, by Momo if you like, on 0591 441 473, or by e-premium for microfinance. Okay, this is how you safeguard your policy. There's a call center team ready to help you on 0202 222 113. All right, so let's all observe the COVID-19 protocols as we enjoy Glyco's service and practice social distancing. Keep safe and trust GlycoLife to cushion you for life. Speaking of protocols, today, avoid touching your face because you can get the virus on your hands from touching surfaces like doorknobs, laptops, and cell phones. 2, avoid touching your mouth, nose, and eyes or biting your fingernails so that you can prevent the virus from getting into your body. 3, do not shake hands, do not hug people, for now at least. 4, do not share personal items. And 5, cover your mouth and nose when you cough and sneeze. Right, on behalf of the whole team, Winston Inimwa, myself, Victor, Sami, Fairboy, DJ Black, DJ Wobete, the opposite of black, and everything else in color, I mean, and everybody else on the team. We thank you for joining us on the Super Morning Show. We're going to take a couple of messages, and then we're going straight to the Supreme Court, where the election petition continues. Chachu Chikata is currently addressing the bench.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs. Your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the